Ethan crouched behind the shattered wall of what had once been a bustling alien marketplace. Smoke curled into the sky, mixing with the pale light of the planet's twin suns. The once vibrant stalls and shops lay in ruins, splintered wood and torn fabrics fluttering in the wind like wounded flags. The ground shook as distant explosions echoed through the jagged mountains, and a low hum of alien engines drew closer. He could hear it before he saw it, a small, terrified cry. It was faint, high-pitched, almost drowned by the chaos around him. Ethan's heart clenched. He recognized that sound. Somewhere beneath the rubble, someone was trapped. He didn't hesitate. Moving quickly but carefully, Ethan navigated through the debris, his military training keeping him alert to every shadow and movement. His boots crunched over shattered glass and cracked stone. The cries grew louder as he approached a collapsed building, the structure groaning under the weight of its own destruction. "Hold on," he whispered under his breath, more to himself than anyone else. He crouched low, examining the broken beams and scattered rubble. Then he saw her, a small alien girl, her skin a shimmering pale blue with faint silver streaks along her arms, was pinned beneath a fallen support beam. Her eyes, wide and luminescent, reflected both fear and hope. Dust coated her fine hair, and she coughed weakly. "Please help," she whispered in a trembling voice, and the sound pierced Ethan's heart. "Don't worry. I've got you," Ethan replied firmly, more to reassure himself than her. He gripped the beam, judging its weight, and then strained against it. The metal groaned, and a sharp piece of debris cut his hand, but he didn't flinch. Sweat and blood mingled as he shifted his weight and lifted with all his strength. With a loud snap and a final heave, the beam rolled off her legs. The girl scrambled out from under it, limping but able to stand. Ethan grabbed her hand and guided her away from the crumbling building. "Who did this to you?" he asked, scanning the horizon. He spotted movement, shadowy figures advancing with strange weapons. They were the ones who had destroyed the marketplace. They wanted to take me," the girl said, fear shaking her small frame. "Not if I can help it," Ethan said. He checked his own weapon, a standard human plasma rifle, and motioned for her to follow him. She nodded, gripping his hand tightly. Her touch was small but determined, and it grounded him in a way he hadn't expected. As they moved through the ruins, Ethan ducked behind walls and under broken archways, using the terrain to his advantage. His training told him to avoid open ground, and he could hear the faint whir of drones scouting ahead. "Stay low," he whispered, keeping his voice calm. "We're going to make it." The girl followed without question, her trust in him absolute. Ethan realized then that this was not just a rescue mission. It was a responsibility, a bond that had formed in an instant but felt unbreakable. They reached a narrow alley between two collapsed buildings. Ethan paused, listening. The hostile aliens were closing in, their footsteps rhythmic and mechanical. He grabbed a jagged piece of metal from the rubble, sharpening it with a pocket tool, and then fashioned a crude trap. When the first enemy rounded the corner, the metal caught the light, startling it, and it stumbled into the trap. "Good," Ethan muttered. "Keep moving." The girl, who had remained silent for most of their escape, finally spoke. "Thank you," she said softly. You saved me." "You're welcome," Ethan replied. "But we're not safe yet." They emerged from the alley into a more open area, a canyon that had once been a riverbed. Ethan scanned the surroundings, noting the uneven rocks and narrow ledges. He realized they could use the canyon to their advantage, forcing any pursuers into a bottleneck. "Follow me closely," he instructed. The girl nodded, and they began moving along the canyon floor. Behind them, the sound of pursuit grew louder. Ethan could hear the harsh, alien language of their attackers, the guttural tones filled with anger and determination. Suddenly, one of the aliens stepped onto a ledge above them, weapon raised. Ethan didn't hesitate. He fired, the plasma bolt hitting the rock just beside the alien. The attacker yelped in surprise and fell backward, rolling down the canyon. The girl gasped but didn't panic, her trust in him unwavering. They continued, moving as quickly as the rocky terrain would allow. Ethan's mind raced. He needed a plan to get them out safely. The canyon opened into a larger valley, and he spotted a grove of tall, luminescent trees. If they could reach it, they might find shelter and perhaps even a way off the planet. "Almost there," he whispered. He extended his hand to the girl, helping her over a large rock. She stumbled but didn't fall. Ethan felt a surge of pride and protectiveness. As they entered the grove, the air changed. It was cooler, filled with the soft hum of alien wildlife and the sweet scent of glowing flowers. For a moment, it felt almost safe, almost peaceful. Ethan set the girl down behind a cluster of thick vines, scanning the perimeter. "We can rest here for a bit," he said. "Then we'll figure out how to get you to your mother." The girl nodded but didn't speak. Ethan understood. She had been through too much to talk freely. He crouched beside her, checking her for injuries. There were bruises and scratches, but nothing life-threatening. "You're strong," he said quietly, "braver than most adults I know." She looked up at him, her eyes wide, and for a moment she smiled. It was fleeting, but it was enough to make Ethan's chest tighten. They rested in silence for a while, the sounds of the grove masking the distant chaos. Ethan couldn't help but think about what lay ahead. The child's mother was a powerful leader, and finding her would not be simple. He had no idea how she would react to a human holding her daughter. But for now, he had a mission: protect the child at all costs. Night fell, the twin suns dipping below the horizon, leaving the valley bathed in a soft, silver glow. Ethan kept watch, rifle ready, eyes scanning the shadows. The girl slept beside him, her small hand resting on his arm. He felt a strange sense of calm, a connection he couldn't explain. Hours passed, and the first light of dawn revealed movement at the edge of the grove. Ethan froze, raising his rifle. Figures approached, cautious but deliberate. Among them, a tall figure moved with authority and grace. Her skin glimmered like polished metal, and her eyes held a fierce intelligence. Ethan's heart skipped a beat. Lyra stirred, waking as the woman approached. "Mother," she whispered, her voice trembling with hope and disbelief. The queen's gaze swept over Ethan, taking in his posture, his weapon, and the small child at his side. For a moment there was silence, heavy with tension. Then the queen's expression softened, a mixture of relief and curiosity. "She is safe," Ethan said simply. "I protected her." The queen studied him carefully, her eyes searching for signs of deceit. She saw none. Only courage, only determination, and only care. Lyra ran into her mother's arms, and for a moment Ethan stepped back, unsure how to act. The queen looked at him again, her expression unreadable. Then, with a small nod, she acknowledged him. "You have done what many could not," she said, her voice calm but filled with authority. "You saved my daughter." Ethan nodded, swallowing. He had expected gratitude, maybe caution, but not the weight of respect in her gaze. He realized then that his actions had consequences far beyond a single rescue. They had earned him a place in this alien world, a bond that neither time nor circumstance could easily break. The queen turned, holding her daughter close. "We must leave," she said. "There are dangers still ahead, but you have proven yourself. Come with us." Ethan's heart pounded. This was more than he had expected. He had saved a life, yes, but he had also gained the trust of a queen, the respect of an entire world. And he knew, deep down, that protecting Lyra was only the beginning. As they moved through the grove, the queen and her daughter ahead of him, Ethan felt a surge of determination. Whatever lay ahead, whether battles, diplomacy, or survival, he would face it. For the child. For her mother. For the bond that had formed in the midst of chaos. And somewhere deep in his mind, a thought lingered, quiet but insistent. Humanity had a place here. In the stars, among alien worlds and alien lives, humans could stand strong, courageous, and compassionate. And sometimes, that was enough to change everything. Ethan followed closely behind the queen and the child. their footsteps quiet on the soft, glowing soil of the alien grove. The twin suns had disappeared below the horizon, leaving the sky painted in hues of deep purple and silver. Strange, luminescent plants pulsed faintly in the darkness, casting soft light across the path. Every sound seemed amplified. The distant roar of collapsing structures, the hum of alien machinery far away, and the subtle breathing of the queen's daughter as she clung to her mother. Queen Arinya's gaze remained focused ahead, yet Ethan could feel it occasionally flicking toward him. It was a careful, appraising look, as if she were weighing his every move. He could not read her expression entirely. She carried herself with calm authority, yet there was a flicker of something softer, gratitude, perhaps even admiration. Ethan reminded himself to stay alert. Trust was not easily won in this world, especially from a leader of her power. The queen spoke without turning her head. "You acted bravely. You could have left her, but you did not. That choice will not be forgotten." Ethan kept his voice steady. "I could not leave her. No one should have to face that alone." Her gaze lingered on him for a moment, and he felt the weight of it pressing against his chest. She was not merely evaluating him for his skill or courage, she was measuring his character, the very essence of what it meant to be human. That thought stirred something within him, pride mixed with unease. He had only acted instinctively, following the instinct to protect a child. Yet it seemed to mean far more than he realized. They reached a cliffside overlooking the ruins of the city. From this vantage point, the full scope of destruction was visible: shattered towers, twisted metal, and smoke rising from smoldering fires. Ethan felt a pang of sorrow. He had grown up in a world of conflict, but seeing an entire civilization scarred in such a way hit him differently. Lyra tugged at her mother's hand. "Mama, he saved me." Her words were small but resolute, and they seemed to echo in the quiet night. Queen Arinya knelt down so that her eyes were level with her daughter's. "I see that, little one, and I am grateful." She turned her gaze to Ethan, who stood a few steps back, hesitant to intrude. "You risked your life for her. That is not a trivial thing in my world." Ethan shook his head. It was not about risk, it was about doing the right thing. A faint smile touched the queen's lips. It was the first time Ethan saw softness in her expression. She placed a hand gently on Lyra's shoulder, then straightened. "You will come with us. There are questions only you can answer, and your presence is necessary." Ethan nodded slowly, though he felt the weight of the unknown pressing against him. He had no idea what awaited him in the Queen's domain, nor how this alien civilization would truly regard a human among them. Yet he felt a strange certainty. He would continue to protect this child, no matter the cost. They began the descent from the cliffside, moving toward a hidden canyon that led deeper into the mountains. The path was treacherous, and Ethan's experience navigating difficult terrain proved invaluable. He helped Lyra over rocks and debris, offering a steady hand and quiet encouragement. She clung to him instinctively, trusting him in a way that transcended language or culture. As they walked, Ethan caught glimpses of the Queen's attendants emerging from the shadows, their faces masked and expressions unreadable. They observed him silently, as if testing his reactions. He met their gaze calmly, aware that any sign of hesitation could be interpreted as weakness. After what felt like hours, they reached the entrance to a hidden sanctuary. Massive stone doors, engraved with alien symbols, stood before them. Queen Arinya approached with confidence and motioned for Ethan to step forward. "This is our home, and it is protected," she said. "Once inside, you will be safe, but you will remain under observation. Understand?" Ethan nodded. "Understood." The doors opened silently, revealing a vast chamber filled with glowing water pools, hovering light orbs, and intricate architecture that seemed both organic and mechanical. The air was warm and fragrant, carrying a faint hum of energy. Ethan felt a momentary awe. This was not just a home, but a sanctuary unlike anything he had ever seen. Lyra ran ahead, giggling as she explored, and Ethan followed more slowly, absorbing the details. Queen Arinya watched him carefully, noting his reactions but not speaking. Finally, she gestured toward a platform at the center of the chamber. "Sit," she commanded gently. "We need to speak." Ethan obeyed, sitting across from her. The queen's expression was unreadable once more, a mixture of authority, caution, and perhaps curiosity. Lyra climbed onto her mother's lap, resting her head against her chest. "You saved her," the queen said finally, her voice calm but resonant. "That act alone could earn you gratitude, yet I see that it was not done for reward. Tell me, human, why did you risk your life for a child who is not your own?" Ethan considered his words carefully. "Because it was right. Because no one should be left alone to face danger when help is possible. That's what humans do, we protect those who cannot protect themselves." The queen's eyes narrowed slightly, as if evaluating the weight of his statement. Then, unexpectedly, she laughed softly. It was melodic, a sound that seemed to resonate with the chamber itself. "Humans, you speak simply, yet your words carry power," she said. "Most beings would calculate, strategize, or hesitate. You acted with heart. That is rare." Ethan shifted uneasily. "I didn't expect praise, I just did what I had to do." Queen Arinya's gaze softened. "Perhaps that is why you are here and not elsewhere, falling prey to the chaos outside." She leaned back slightly, her hands resting on Lyra. "You may stay, human, not as a guest but as a protector, a guardian. I claim you as such, not by force but by recognition." "You have earned it." Ethan's heart pounded. He had expected recognition, perhaps even thanks, but not this. To be trusted and accepted by a queen, by someone whose very presence radiated authority, was beyond anything he had imagined. Lyra's small hand reached out and grabbed his. "He stays with us, Mama," she said firmly. "I trust him, he saved me." Queen Arinya studied the child's expression, then looked at Ethan. There was a long pause, a silence heavy with unspoken understanding. Finally, she nodded. "So be it," she said. "You will be part of our world, human. You will protect her, guide her, and learn our ways. And in return, you will be respected. Not as a visitor, but as one of us, an ally, a guardian, and perhaps something more." Ethan felt a mixture of pride, humility, and responsibility. He had come to this alien world as a soldier, trained to fight and survive. But he had discovered something deeper: connection, trust, and a bond that transcended species. This child and her mother had accepted him not for his strength alone, but for the choices he made, the heart he showed. As days turned into weeks, Ethan adapted to life in the Queen's domain. He trained alongside alien warriors, learning their combat techniques while teaching them his own. He spent hours with Lyra, helping her recover from the trauma of her experience, and she flourished under his care. The bond between them grew, unspoken yet profound. Queen Arinya often watched silently, her gaze following Ethan as he moved with quiet confidence through her world. She saw the way he interacted with her daughter, the way he treated every challenge with calm determination, and she understood that humans were capable of extraordinary courage and compassion. One evening, as the twin moons rose in the sky, casting silver light across the sanctuary, Queen Arinya approached Ethan. "You have proven yourself," she said softly. "Not through words, not through ceremony, but through your actions. That is how trust is earned, and that is how respect is given." Ethan looked at her, unsure how to respond. "I only did what I could," he said quietly. "No," she replied firmly. "You did more than you know. You showed us what humanity is capable of: bravery, compassion, and loyalty. These are not traits measured in strength alone, but in heart, and for that you are part of this world." Lyra ran to him, hugging him tightly. "He saved me, Mama. He's my guardian." Queen Arinya smiled, placing a gentle hand on Ethan's shoulder. "And now he is ours," she said. Ethan felt a warmth he had never known. He had come to an alien world as a soldier, but he had found a home, a purpose, and a bond that transcended words. He realized that protecting Lyra had been only the beginning. In doing so, he had earned not just her trust, but the respect and acknowledgement of a powerful queen, and in that recognition, he had discovered the true strength of humanity. And so, under the light of the twin moons, Ethan accepted his new role, not as a stranger or an outsider, but as a protector, a guardian, and a symbol of what humans could achieve, even in the farthest reaches of the galaxy. The bond between human and alien, between protector and child, had become unbreakable, and in that connection, the seeds of hope, trust, and unity were planted, an enduring reminder that courage and compassion could cross any boundary, even between worlds.